I still can't believe it. I sincerely can't believe it. Not that I expected the 76ers to shoot 3 of 18 from beyond the arc again in the second half, like they did in the first half. I knew they weren't going to turn the basketball over as many times as they did in the first half, which was 12, by the way. 12 first-half turnovers. I did not expect the 76ers to do that in both the first and second half, but there was no saving grace. There was no one I saw going, this guy, he's really going to step up. There was certainly no Nico Batum in the back of my mind shooting 6 of 9, would turn out to be 6 of 10 from beyond the arc, to rally the 76ers to get past the Miami Heat 105-104 in the play-in game last night for the right to now be officially the Eastern Conference 7th seed and take on the New York Knickerbockers on Saturday in what will be the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I did not expect what I watched last night. I did not expect. What I did expect was an absolute knockout, drag-out fight between both these clubs. I absolutely expected that. I did not expect the Sixers to play as terrible as they did. They didn't even make it a game in that first half. And somehow, magically, the 76ers weren't being blown out by 40 going into halftime. But the thing that happened last night, I'll just say this. The thing that happened last night that gave me at least the reason that why they came back was the reason why this is the best team since the Jimmy Butler-led 76ers, and we'll get into that in a second. Also, the Phillies completed the sweep of the Rockies last night. Great to see that. Kyle Schwarber, 2 home runs for the big man. Love to see that, of course. Trey Turner, stay golden. Stay golden, pony boy. Phenomenal game from him last night, checking back and forth with the Phillies from the Sixers and all that, following that. Bill Belichick, apparently the Eagles did kick the tires on that. It was worth at least a check-in from Jeffrey Lurie. He told a confidant. Did you read the story? Jeremy Fowler, ESPN right there. Did you read the story? Lurie told a confidant that he would be at least interested in having a conversation with Bill Belichick, that there was interest there. And if they really did kick the tires and offer the job and really have a legit conversation about whether or not Belichick wanted the job, Belichick, according to another confidant, would have been interested. I'm going to tell you right now about these couple of confidants in the story. Not my confidants. No. That means it's somebody you trust, somebody you can confide in. Not those guys. Those guys are jibber-jabbering to the media. I laughed out loud at that. Confidant, some confidant, if I'm reading this story on ESPN.com. Does it lend itself for Eagles fans after that story came out that if things start off poorly for the Eagles, that the people go, could have had Belichick, could have had him, and we're still dealing with Nick Sirianni? That ain't cool. That ain't great. I don't like that. Well, we'll get into it a little bit later. And the Eagles addressed the media yesterday. Jalen Hurts spoke, so we got to hear from Jalen Hurts. He spoke about Kellen Moore. He spoke about how he's in sponge mode. All right. We got to see. I found this really interesting, and we'll let you hear from Hurts in a second. But he yearns for the same stability in play calling and offensive coordinating that the offensive line has with Jeff Stoutland. I thought that was very interesting. He looks at the offensive linemen and sees how they flourish under Jeff Stoutland, because Jeff Stoutland has been here since Chip Kelly, and these offensive linemen can go, Stout's our guy. He can bring us along. Look at a guy like Jordan Mailata, didn't even play football prior to being drafted. He shook hands with Jeff Stoutland, and Jeff Stoutland has the golden offensive lineman Midas touch. You're gold. You're a Pro Bowler. He's got the Pro Bowl touch. And Mailata's working his way there. But he's getting there. Certainly with the money, he's certainly gotten there, which is pretty amazing. So Jalen Hurts saying that he yearns for that kind of stability and that kind of consistency from a play caller, from an offensive coordinator. I found it to be very interesting, because the Eagles' formula right now does not lend itself to consistency and familiarity when it comes to an offensive play caller and an offensive coordinator. They may have gotten themselves in a vicious cycle, which is very unfortunate. Also talked about how he's going to lead this year. That wasn't the question, but it was more or less the question. Different teams need different things. Jalen Hurts, what are you going to do for this team? What are you going to do to help them? What are you going to do? and he was basically talking about how he wants to set the standard. So here we are. It was April 17th yesterday, and we have our first standard reference. No main thing is the main thing yesterday, though. I was waiting for the main thing to be the main thing. The main thing wasn't the main thing yesterday. It remained just a thing, but not mentioned. And also, Cam Jurgens got lost, apparently, at the NovaCare Complex, and I understand why. And I feel bad for Cam Jurgens, because the vast majority of the questions yesterday in the 10 minutes or so, 11 minutes he was addressing the media, the vast majority of the questions were, hey, so you're not Jason Kelce. How about that? Hey, you know the other guy, Jason Kelce, that was here? You're feeling that guy. You know you're not him. Are you him? Can you be him? We'd like you to be him. Can you be him? I'm like, dude, just let the guy be. How are you hating the questions about Jason Kelce? Anybody here we signed Saquon Barkley? He literally said that yesterday. We signed Saquon Barkley, which is kind of cool. You guys know about that? Yeah. All right. I was like, good for you, man. Good for you. All right. So we'll get into all that on today's show, but we're going to start it off with those 10-9-8 76ers and what they had going on for themselves last night, which was not much in the first half of yesterday's game. They lose the first quarter after looking like they had, oh, wow, all these turnovers, and they still have somewhat control. They ended up losing the first quarter by 1 point. I'm like, okay, all right, a lot of turnovers. Not great. This is a team that was they had the fewest turnovers, them and the Boston Celtics, 11.3 turnovers per game, the fewest by team in the NBA. So that's pretty good. But in this game, they had 9 turnovers with about 11:30 left in the second quarter. Start of the second quarter, they were already at 9. They were already at about 9 turnovers with about 11:30 still to go in the second quarter. So that is not great. They end up losing that second quarter by 11 points. They go into halftime down 12. Not great. The Sixers last night were struggling so much more than I anticipated with the zone. And we knew they were going to see a lot of zone. Miami plays more of the zone than anybody. You've been hit over the head with that since you knew we were going to play in the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament. Throughout the season, Joel Embiid only played in 1 game against the Heat. Throughout the season, Jimmy Butler only played in 1 game against the Sixers. They split their series. The 1 game they actually met was the 1 game Joel Embiid came back from his injury and helped the Sixers to that win over the Jimmy Butler-led Heat. The only thing the Heat didn't have in that game was Tyler Hero. And Tyler Hero dropped in a game-high 25 points last night and still was not particularly great from beyond the arc. 4 of 15, I think he was 4 of 14 from beyond the arc. But in that game, the Heat defense wasn't as clutch as it was in the first half of this game. And the Sixers certainly weren't trying to force as many things as they were in this game last night. And you constantly saw the Sixers, whether it was Tyrese Maxey, whether it was Buddy Hield, whether it was Kelly Oubre, whether it was Joel Embiid, constantly dribble, drive, penetration, get to the paint. Zone collapsing on me. What do I do? Panic. And then they try to dish the ball out, kick it out. And then somebody, whether it was Bam Adebayo, whether it was Hero, whether it was Jimmy Butler, they would get their hands on a pass, on an outlet pass, a kick-out pass, whatever, and force a turnover where they just deflected enough, where it was Kelly Oubre trying to corral it, he steps out of bounds, and then the Sixers would turn the basketball over. Trying to break a press. Kyle Lowry tried to break a press. Got 2 guys in front of him. A veteran like that, a 38-year-old veteran like Kyle Lowry, throws a lazy pass trying to break a press, the full court press there by the Miami Heat. That's them forcing the issue. That's them making errant passes. That's them making bad mental mistakes, bad decisions because they're pressing to either break the press or trying to break the zone. And they had no answer for it. And the only way you were going to be able to break that zone was if you start hitting your outside shots. And as I mentioned to start the show, 3 of 18 in the first half. In the early goings of the second half, the Sixers eventually were 3 for 20. They missed their first 2 threes in the second half. They were 3 for 20. 15% from beyond the arc is not going to help you beat the zone. And then something miraculous happened. Absolutely 1,000,000,000% miraculous. And the reason that I have so much confidence in this team is because of their depth. The reason this is the best team since the Jimmy Butler-led 76ers is because of the depth. The starting 5 of the 76ers, anybody could hurt you back in the quadruple doink year of Kawhi Leonard bouncing you out of the playoffs. in Game 7 in Toronto. That was something that was remarkable, that starting five. But there wasn't a deep team. This team is extremely deep. And if Joel Embiid isn't on top of his game, which he was not last night, even though he had a team-high 23 points, 15 boards, that is not just to be glossed over. And I know when we talk about turnovers a lot with the 76ers, a lot of times we're looking at Joel Embiid, 7, 8, 9 turnovers. Oh, my God, no. Last night it wasn't just Embiid. He had 3 turnovers. Tyrese Maxey had 3 turnovers. It was everybody. It was the whole team. It was really bad. It wasn't just one person giving the basketball away. It was everybody. But watching that game unfold last night, I was just waiting for somebody to step up. And it turned out to be Nico Batum's turn. Now, what was absolutely incredible, Sixers fans throughout the game, and rightfully so. I defend the boo here. I remember Ronald Darby. I was doing an interview with him some years ago, and he said something that lives rent-free in my brain, and I think it's actually beautiful what he said. Philadelphia's a city of brotherly love. Ronald Darby described it as, it's a city of brotherly love, but they also have the brotherly boo. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's a good way to sum up how I view the Philadelphia fan base and how they use the boo. In Ronald Darby's case, the year after they win the Super Bowl, they're getting booed off the field at halftime because they're playing like straight ass against that Atlanta Falcons team at Lincoln Financial Field. The night they unfurled the Super Bowl banner. Boo! Malcolm Jenkins said after the game, I'd boo us too. We were playing terrible. Well, the Sixers fans last night were booing the Sixers because they were playing terrible. And not just missing shots, but the turnovers just going time and time again and not playing smart basketball time and time again, just making those mental mistakes time and time again, trying to force it time and time again. And the Sixers fans were booing the Sixers, and rightfully so. And it got referenced on more than one occasion throughout the broadcast, which is fine. This isn't a complaint. And then free chicken happened with about 6:57 left in the third quarter. And the 76ers down 59-48. Caleb Martin of the Miami Heat went to the free throw line. Now, as we all know the deal, you go to the free throw line in the second half. You miss back-to-back free throws. We get some free chicken. Everybody gets some free chicken nuggets. Or as Andy Reid would say, chicken nuggies. Okay? So he misses them. The crowd goes bananas, bananas. And it was the first time since probably player intros that Sixers fans could lose their mind. And then Nico Batum hits his first 3 of the game. And then Nico Batum hits another 3. And then Nico Batum hits another 3. And then Buddy Hield gets in on the action on the driving layup. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the Sixers are starting to make a game of this a little bit. They go on a nice little run there in that third quarter. And all of a sudden, you blink, and the Sixers actually pick up 7 points in that third quarter. Trailing by 12 at halftime, they picked up 7 of those 12 points heading into the fourth quarter. All right, can they get something going? Can they cook a little bit more? Who else is going to step up? Of all people, Buddy Hield stepped up, and not from 3. If you tell me that Buddy Hield had some kind of great turnaround in the second half because of what he was able to do in a game, I'm telling you, did he hit 5 of 6 threes in the fourth quarter? Did he knock down 3 threes? Did he knock down 3 threes in 51 seconds like he did the other night? What did he do? What did Buddy Hield do? No, Buddy Hield had 6 assists last night. That's what Buddy Hield did. Tyrese Maxey got it going a little bit in that fourth quarter. He had a miraculous play where he drove to the basket. I think it was one of top 10 on SportsCenter. Drove the basket. The ball got loose as he's going up, got tipped out. He then followed. Let me see if I do this right. He went up with his right hand, lost it, and then tipped it in with his left hand as he was going to the basket, cut through the lane. Joel Embiid had an N1 situation where he got hooked from behind. I think it was Caleb Martin that got it. I can't be sure on it. But he just kind of, as he's throwing it up, gets hooked. He throws up a wild hook shot. It goes in. He gets the N1. Joel Embiid hit a 3 late in that fourth quarter. Nico Batum had an incredible putback. Not only was he knocking down threes, he was charging the glass. He was ripping boards. He was getting putbacks. Had another little bunny jump shot to help the Sixers really start taking control of this game. And then he had a key block on Tyler Hero down the stretch. Buddy, Nico Batum did it all last night. Absolutely did it all last night. And you saw the Sixers team just continue to push, continue to fight down the stretch. Kelly Oubre had a layup to start things off for them in the fourth quarter, made it a 74-71 game. Embiid hit that three to tie things up at 74 all. Love had that tip in down the other end. That made it 76-74. Every time you thought the Sixers were really going to take control, the Heat had an answer until Batum hit a three to make it 79-78. Then Embiid sat at the 8:44 mark of the fourth quarter. Batum hits another three, 82-78. Bam has another tough shot going for him. He made a couple of tough shots. One was a fadeaway jumper over Joel Embiid that went in that helped grow the lead again to 6. That was in the third quarter, but staying now in the fourth. Bam has another tough shot, makes it 82-80. Then Paul Reed gets an alley-oop from Buddy Hield. 84-80. Maxey has that driving layup, makes it 86-82. Hero hits a three, 86-85. Sixers up just 1 point right now, but it feels like they're really starting to gain control. And then Jaquez comes down there with that insane dunk on a second chance point, and then back-to-back possessions for the Heat. Second chance points, and I'm thinking this is where the Sixers are going to lose it because it's second chance points. Now they can't get a rebound? Great. And then Embiid calms the storm, settles things down. Oh, wait, I left out the Harris air ball. Tobias Harris, 9 points last night. Not great. Missed, I think it was 4 straight putbacks. So that's 4 layups. That's hard. Like I wish I could joke and be like, I wasn't even mad. I was impressed, but I was pissed. Because you can't make a layup. I remember at one point in the game, the Sixers had the 12 turnovers, and I went, they have 12 turnovers, and that's the least of their problems. They've made 3 threes. Tobias Harris can't make a layup. Nobody can make a layup. Nobody's making a shot. They have 12 turnovers, and I'm like, that's not even their biggest problem. Like, you have to really suck at shooting in order for me not to be like, oh, turnovers aren't even the biggest problem in this game. And that to a point, at a point in the game, that was it. But Tobias Harris, after the back-to-back second chance points there, they made it 89-86 in favor of now the Heat. Harris has the air ball. Batum helps change the course with that tip in off a Maxey miss layup with a great follow-up there. It's 89-88. Hero hits a jumper. It's now 91-88. No matter what the Sixers are doing, the Heat are starting to take control. Embiid gets the 2 free throws, makes it 91-90, and then Lowry comes up with steal, goes ahead to Maxey, who hits Embiid for a 3, and that's where you started to feel like the Sixers got this. 93-91. Embiid hit another jumper there, the one I talked about there where he got fouled in the process, got the end one. That made it a 96-94 game, and the Sixers got a backcourt call on the Heat. That was a crucial turnover, and the Sixers were able to take control. Oubre got an N1 situation, made a layup, got the N1 on that incredible feed from Embiid at the top of the key. That made it 99-96. And still not a lot of breathing room, but at least you felt like the Sixers were just going to keep on having answers. And that's exactly what they did. I wish I could say that last night, looking at what the Sixers were doing and Nick Nurse and all that, I wish I could say that Nick Nurse devised some incredible plan to save the Sixers. But this just came down to making shots, man. The Sixers were getting looks in the first half. The Sixers were getting wide open looks in the first half. Like, you look at the game tonight, or last night, and you think about Maxey hitting 1 3 in the game. Kyle Lowry, 1 for 5. Tobias Harris, 0 for 3. He had 2 turnovers. He also had 5 offensive rebounds, which was pretty clutch. Buddy Hield from beyond the arc was only 1 for 5. Like, guys that you normally depend on to hit at least, a couple threes in a game came up pretty small from beyond the arc last night. And in a night where you're struggling against a screen, or struggling against the zone, you got to be able to hit those outside shots. And the only thing that changed was some free chicken and Nico Batum. That's it. After the game, Joel Embiid was addressed to the media. He was clearly hampered by his knee. I wasn't worried about the New York Knicks. I think the Eagles. I think the Sixers could beat the Knicks. But if Joel Embiid plays the way he played last night against the Knicks, the Sixers ain't winning that game. The Sixers aren't winning this series. If Tyrese Maxey struggles in a game like he struggled last night, to find a real rhythm. Sixers aren't going to win this series. The Knicks are a deep team, and they got shooters, man. They're very similar, especially the defensive side of things when it comes to forcing turnovers like the Heat. They're a similar team in terms of points allowed through the season. Like the Heat, they're separated by, I think, 1 point. They're facing a very similar team where the only difference is they don't have as good a center in Bam Adebayo that can go up against Joel Embiid, and Embiid was clearly hampered by the knee. If this is the version of Joel Embiid you're going to get, this is going to be a first-round exit for the Sixers. And there was a game where the Sixers got blown out January 4th or 5th where they met the Knicks. They got blown up by about 40. And Joel Embiid played in that game. And Maxey played in that game. The other instances, the other 3 matchups, you did not see Joel Embiid. The other 3 instances, the Sixers were still just figuring out their rotation. The Sixers lost 3 out of the 4 meetings between them and the Knicks. If they have anything less than a 90% Joel Embiid, who I would say last night was playing at about 75, then they're not going to win this series. It's not so much me being worried about the Knicks. It's me being worried about Joel Embiid. And I wasn't worried about Joel Embiid's knee injury going into it. I'd seen him play. I'd seen him play at a very healthy level. I had seen him been dominant. But last night, he was far from that. Did he come up with some clutch shots? Absolutely did. Did he get you 15 rebounds, that's not a small feat. That's pretty amazing. But the typical dominant Joel Embiid you did not see last night. And you need to see a pretty typically dominant Joel Embiid to beat the New York Knicks in a playoff series. Maxey's going to be huge in this, especially when you talk about guard play for the Knicks. When you think about the level that Brunson has played out, clutch shooting of a guy like Josh Hart, the all-out dog mentality of a guy like Dante DiVincenzo. It kills me to be this kind to Villanova players. But anyway, that's the way it looks. That's the way it looks. It's going to be a very, very tough series if Joel Embiid's knee is not close to even 90%. After the game, also, Nick Nurse addressed the media, said that he thought Joel Embiid went out there and he competed. He did his thing. Again, still had a team-high 23 points. But this is where I say you got to go beyond the box score and you got to watch the game. And you got to say, is that the same guy that you saw play to help the Sixers to an 8-game winning streak to close out the year? That wasn't the same guy. I mean, even watching Joel Embiid play in his only game against the Heat this season back on April 4th, that wasn't the same guy. That wasn't the same guy. 38 minutes logged, by the way, for Joel Embiid. 6 of 17 from the floor. 2 of 4 from beyond the arc, so 50% ain't terrible. 9 of 10. 15 of his 23 points came on free throws and his 2 threes. The footwork that you used to see from Joel Embiid wasn't there. There was one particular play. I think it was in the third quarter. See if I can find it here. I think it was 68-66. Batum just hit a 3 at about the 119 mark of the game. And Embiid got the ball at the foul line extended on the perimeter and put the ball on the floor and tried to dribble through 3 people and lost it. And I'm like, this is just when Batum was getting hot. Red hot. And you want to lose a possession here? Not cool, bro. Not cool. After that, there was a weird delay of game call. The third quarter play, that was Butler hit a 3 down the end to make it 64-59. Maxey came down the other end. That's when he had the tip in off himself after it was jarred loose. The Bam fadeaway, Batum 3 on the Maxey kick out, which was great. That was one of the few occasions you saw a kick out happen where you weren't forcing anything. It was just right there. Butler countered with a 3. Maxey had the tip to himself. Hield had a little bunny there to make it 65-63. The BS delay a game call. Batum hits another 3, 119, 68-66, and B turnover. Love 3. Payne answers with a 3 towards the end of that third quarter. And then Jaquez, damn it, he hit a 3 to make it 74-69 going into the fourth quarter. But then the fourth quarter, the Sixers were able to more or less take control. They won that quarter by 6 points. The reason they won this game is because of their depth. It's because of the way Buddy Hield played. It's because of the way Nico Batum played going down the stretch. Joel Embiid said that exactly after the game. The depth is what saved the Sixers last night. It wasn't some miraculous coaching cracking the code of what the Heat were doing. It was hitting their shots from the outside and other guys stepping up. Because Embiid was 100%. Maxey wasn't playing at his full potential. And really, the zone limited Maxey's speed. Because you could go full head of steam. And he did it on more than one occasion. And it ended up being a missed shot or it ended up being a turnover. Where Maxey tried to get that full head of steam. You go with full head of steam and there's 3 Heat around the basket. That's a brick wall, especially if Bam Adebayo is the guy in the middle. No cracking of the code, just hitting shots. It's amazing how things work out when you hit your shots. Oh, and you don't go, hey, here's 12 turnovers. Convert this to 17 points, which is exactly what the Heat did in the first half. Nico Batum, free chicken. Nico Batum, free chicken. Is it the Boom Boom Batum game or is it the free chicken nuggies game? These are the things we will discuss. Number of Philadelphia Eagles addressed the media yesterday as OTAs are getting underway. Their first run of OTAs. Going to have some meetings. Going to do some strength and conditioning. Hopefully a couple of walkthroughs and all that. Before I get to Jalen Hurts, I want to get to Cam Jurgens. This was the question by Chris Franklin, who was kind enough to join John McMullen and I yesterday on Birds 365. Chris Franklin of NJ.com, who basically asked the question like, hey, how's it going? And that's not uncommon. Cam Jurgens just sitting down, somebody, hey, how you doing? You kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. This is how it's going for Cam Jurgens.
Day 3 of OTAs here. So we're just starting to get into it, It does feel a little weird. Kelsey's gone, and they moved my locker over into his, so obviously that's a little weird. And so, I went to the wrong locker a couple times, and I'm like, oh man, this isn't mine anymore. So, getting used to things, but yeah, it's fun getting back here, getting back into the groove of things. Like, obviously been working hard and doing everything you need to do in the weight room and on the field. But it's just fun being back here, building connections with new guys on the team. So that's kind of what this time is about, building your bodies up and getting in with the new coaches and new teammates and kind of connecting. That's our first pillar, getting together and learning more about each other.
Yes, of course. The pillars of Sirianni. Connectability, accountability, snow cones, coffee. I think those are that. I think those are the pillars. But anyway, connecting. So they're all connecting. It's all great. It did hit me really weird when he's like, yeah, they moved me into Kelsey's locker. I'm like, they moved you into Kelsey's locker. You're answering all these questions about being the center, okay? And Nick Sirianni is like, yeah, I don't know who's the center. I don't know. At the owners' meetings, he wouldn't say that Cam Jurgens is the center. I hope that this is the end. And sometimes it's like some one barrage and get it out of the way. But I can't help but think, as OTAs go on, mini camp, training camp, Cam Jurgens is just going to keep on getting questions about him not being Jason Kelsey. One of the questions yesterday, and I'm half paraphrasing, but it was definitely like, hey, so you're not Jason Kelsey. How do you be Cam Jurgens? Like, that was more or less the question. And I saw a look on his face like, you're asking me how I be me? What? Like, I know we were talking about Howie Roseman getting a little snippy with my man Dave Uram the other day, but I was like, that's a question where I wouldn't blame the subject at all for being like, how do I be me? I just be. I'm not trying to be anybody else, man. I care about 2 things: football and beef jerky. I'm Cam Jurgens. Like, that's what I care about. My beef jerky, the Jurgens beef jerky, which I've heard is delightful, and I've heard about, and I care about football. That's it. That's just let me play some football. When he was asked about the experience he had in playing right guard last year, he echoed the sentiment of Howie Roseman from the day before about drafting a guy so that he could learn under his predecessor. Yeah, and he'll learn from him right there. He talked about how much he learned from Jason Kelce. Didn't get into specifics, but just how you carry yourself to be a professional. Just watching the way he did everything with everything on his plate. He found a way to just get things done on the football field and continue to play at an extremely high level. He was asked about Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator, and he said that this guy's just really smart. You can tell he's just really smart. Said that he's not there to replace Jason Kelce. He's there to be Cam Jurgens. Went on to talk a little bit more about how weird it was. Message from Jason Kelce to him and Jeff Stoutland is simply there's work to be done. He has a sense of excitement about going back to the center position, but really he just loves it in Philadelphia, loves playing football in Philadelphia, and he's fired up to do that. That was his words, fired up. At about, I guess, 7:30, so 7 minutes, 30 seconds into the press conference, I guess he was done with the Kelce questions. And he's like, "Did you guys see we signed Saquon Barkley?" Pretty fired up about that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that was Cam Jurgens yesterday. Now, as for your boy Jalen Hurts, our boy Jalen Hurts, a lot has been made. And when I say Joe Santoliquito article, a lot of people, of course, jump back to the Carson Wentz story and how they hated Joe Santoliquito for putting that story out. Why would you put that story out? Blah, 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 blah. Well, it turned out to be true. Carson Wentz turned out to be a bit of a prima donna. And when he wrote a story at the end of this year about Jalen Hurts, I did not get the same sense as I got from when I read the Carson Wentz story, that we were doomed. I read the Carson Wentz story, and I went, we're doomed. I read the Jalen Hurts story, and I went, all right, so he needs to be more of a vocal leader and more approachable. That doesn't seem to be – hey, look, guys that put their head down and run and want to lead by example, they're doing that because that's how they lead. And when they step out of that comfort zone to try to be the other kind of leader, the rah-rah guy, it comes off extremely fraudulent. You have to know how to pick your spots as a leader. That's not me talking. That's what professional athletes have told me. I'm not trying to tell you what it's like in a locker room. That's not my area of expertise. I can only pass along the information that's been given to me. If you want me to take a guess as a guy that played high school freshman football, I'll be glad to do so, but take it with a grain of salt. But going from what athletes have told me, that comes off, it's extremely fraudulent. And I think that's true for any walk of life. Somebody stepping out of their comfort zone, you're like, this ain't you, and I'm distracted by how much this isn't you to really hear whatever message you're trying to give me. But Jalen Hurts is the guy that puts his head down and runs, literally, tush push and all that. But he was asked yesterday about kind of taking on a different role. And the question more or less was, how are you going to approach this season without the veteran leadership of a Jason Kelce? Even on the defensive side of the football, without Fletcher Cox. This is becoming more and more your team and less of the longtime Super Bowl champion veterans team. So how are you going to be a different kind of leader this year? And this is how Jalen Hurts answered that question.
I think really leaving it to no one else to set the culture and how I want it to be. Communicating that with everyone above and communicating that with my teammates and carrying it. I have a standard I want to play to, and I want to play to that all the time. And so in the end, the number one thing you're going to establish that with is with work. And I think you never want to get caught chasing anything, chasing a goal, chasing this dream. Like, we all going to have those. But just be where your feet are and work.
Be where your feet are and work. Love it. As far as setting the standard, I would assume, from what I just heard from Jalen Hurts, is that he's not going to defer as much to A.J. Brown to be that vocal leader in the locker room. That's what I get out of that answer. And that's an answer that I wanted. You're not going to hear Jalen Hurts be like, oh, yeah, I got to get in guys' faces and I got to go up and down the sideline and really try to rally guys. I don't think he is that type of guy. I think he prefers to lead by example. But those kind of guys, I think it's easy to slant a story in the direction of, oh, he's standoffish, when in reality, the guy's just working. And I don't think that he should be faulted for that, but it is something to take in and be like, okay, look, as a leader, I have to make time for some teammates that maybe I haven't really made time for. Like last year, for instance, he texted Quez Watkins, if you remember. Quez is going to be ready to the game Devontae Smith missed. He texted Quez Watkins, hey, be ready to go. And Quez was like, I've always been ready to go, you know? Like little things like that. Like maybe next year you got to, instead of texting the guy, maybe you got to seek him out on the field or in the locker room and have that personal connection. I know I'm asking a lot of a 25-year-old in some cases here, but you have personal connection, eye contact. Be better. You know what I mean? Have that kind of connection. Maybe that's how he could be a better leader. And that seems to be something that at least is on his mind. And it should be on. If people are saying this, there's got to be a little, at least a morsel of truth to it. So take it as constructive criticism, use it, learn from it, and be a better leader afterwards. So I think everything that he said about that, I thought was on point from him. It wasn't stepping out of his comfort zone. I thought it was really staying along the line of his true character. Now, here's something that it both have to do with Kellen Moore. First and foremost, it's new offensive coordinator. So he's gone from Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson, now Kellen Moore in 3 years. He's only had the same offensive play caller coordinator for 2 years. He's only had that with Shane Steichen the 2 years he had Shane Steichen, and they went to a Super Bowl in the second year of that. And he only had that one other time, and that was in high school with his dad as the coach. Okay, so there's a vicious cycle that the Eagles are in right now. But before we get to that, Kellen Moore and just kind of the first impressions and whether or not Jalen Hurts is going to have his fingers on the pulse of what the offense is going to be doing before the season in terms of preparation for the season.
I'm just in sponge mode. I'm letting them do what it is they're going to do, and then we kind of adjust from there. You know, I think the thing that we all have to understand is the importance of a foundation in something, and so I want the coaches to, you know, declare their foundation in terms of what they want something to be, how they want it to look. And then obviously you're gonna adjust from there. I think when that foundation isn't as strong as you want it to be, you know, it may not, you know, last as long or
last as long as we should end there. And I think he's absolutely right. He's not going to jump in there and be like, no, welcome to Philadelphia. This is how you do your job. No, you guys set up what you want to do, and I will see what works here. And if I want to see, maybe we run that read option. Maybe we don't have as many tight end screens. Maybe we'll back it off on the bubble screens a little bit. But that's also one thing I think that Kellen Moore has to do with Jalen Hurts. Talking about stepping out of a comfort zone as a leader. How about stepping out of your comfort zone as a quarterback? Because the bubble screens, I know a lot of people will yell at Brian Johnson. The bubble screens are also a Jalen Hurts thing. This is where Jalen Hurts defaults to, this isn't there, check down bubble screen. Process what's in front of you, learn how to exploit it in a different way. And that's where I think Kellen Moore can help, and I think that's what Jalen Hurts is looking forward to, is how he can get that help from Kellen Moore. But again, going back to 3 offensive coordinators, 3 play callers now in 3 seasons, what will be 3 seasons starting this year, there's no continuity. And Jalen Hurts said this, and I thought this was very interesting, about how the offensive line is great because of continuity, because they're familiar with Jeff Stoutland. He wants that same type of continuity when it comes to the offense and offensive play call.
I think as a player, I definitely yearn for the sustainability and the consistency there. As you know, a coach Stout serves for his offensive line room. As a quarterback, I yearn for those things in the play caller and the quarterback coach, because you kind of see how consistency in those areas can breed excellence.
Yeah, and I'd love to see the excellence being bred on the offensive side of things. I told John McMullen yesterday, anything outside of top 3, and I think that's even being nice in terms of how great the offense can be. If this offense isn't top 3 in the NFL, that is a failure. That is a failure. With all these weapons, that offensive line, still without Jason Kelce, that offensive line, barring your right guard being a complete disaster, whoever it might be, and I don't think it will be, he will be, barring that, the Eagles, there's no doubt, should have a top 3 offense in the NFL. They have a experienced play caller who has already had success in the league, and they have all these weapons. Are you kidding me? Let's go. Phillies, they won yesterday. That was awesome. They completed the sweep. They have won 3 in a row. That's called a winning streak. Lou Brown and scene. Schwarber, 2 home runs. Trey Turner's amazing. All that type jazz. Let's get to the chat check. I want to get into this right out of the gate here. I have a Fox 29 hit today. I got to get on over there. IBH, good morning. Fuji, what's popping? Happy Thursday. Thank you. WC, bring on the Knicks. 6 and 5. Ooh, I think that's confident. That means it's a very healthy Joel Embiid. Jeff, most entertaining Sixers game I can remember since Game 7 Raptors loss. Sixers have a solid 9-player rotation with great coaching. I agree. They will be a tough out for anyone, including the Celtics. Oof, Jeff, keep preaching. Keep preaching. Sean Kilran, Batum put on that 3-point clinic off the bench. Gotta love it. 20 points. Batum greater than Jordan, says Daz. Coaching adjustments finally a thing for the Sixers, or for Philadelphia sports team. Give Nurse the Coach of the Year award. Give the Coach of the Year award to Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse is a great coach, and I think he is better than Doc Rivers, goes without saying. Last night they hit threes. I maybe he reminded them that spacing is a thing. I don't know. But that's what went down last night. I think shooting was more the star of the show in the second half. Toby, 9 points were big. 10 rebounds. Craig, I agree. The 10 rebounds were bigger than the 9 points, I think. Do you believe in the team? The team right now, Dwight? Do I believe in the team or the team? Team? I believe in the team. Just Joel Embiid's got to be healthy. Hey, bro. Good morning. Dwight, welcome aboard, by the way. Why is Soto on the roster for the Phillies? Yeah, he was terrible yesterday. That was awful. Joe Whip, the Knicks are a Jay Wright pro team. Better never hear anyone disrespect Kyle Schwarber again. Oh, Barb. Was Barb throwing barbs at my man? That ain't cool. Oh, how much will to replace the ring? Is it the most Jason Kelce story ever? Where'd you lose your Super Bowl ring? In a vat of chili? Oh, okay. That's about right. That's about right. Sean Gillespie, good morning. K. Raleigh, Crawley, what's popping? Sixers played horrendous last night. They did. Sean Kilrain, Hurts is a man of many words. Yes, he is. Mihai Sanchez. Sixers 7-seed pride. Phillies in second place. Flyers had some great strides. Things are looking sunny in Philadelphia. You know what? I'll go on that. Batum is being goaded by Daz. Maxey needs to step up and B needs to be healthy. Daz. Embiid has no interest in the game for 30 minutes. Fourth quarter, he came up big, though. He did. Little G Griffin, what's up? I'm a big fan of the Eagles 2024 season. Eagles new edge linebacker, draft Georgia and Alabama, Texas. Yes, I agree. Robert Ory. Wow, Tim. Great pull. Big shot Bob. Robert Ory. Still remember him giving us the FU sign in the 2001 finals. I wanted to punch Robert Ory in the face when I saw that. 17-year-old Mark Farzetta was really pissed off at Robert Ory. I was all up in my feels with that. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. I appreciate you. I've kind of gave you the goods on the Bill Belichick story in terms of, the Eagles were going to kick the tires, but didn't really. Anyway, that's that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Phillies off tonight. Sixers off tonight. And, well, you know the deal with the Flyers. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day today. Have a great night tonight. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning. Look forward to that. See you then.